Do not worry about business until you have an incredible service to offer, until you understand the art and science of nurse coaching, how to listen so deeply that it changes somebody's life. So you begin to make that transition. You say, hearing so many things that I could help you with. Would it be okay if I take a moment to reiterate what I would help you with and then what that process could look like in working together? Nurses, nurse coaches, welcome back to the Nurse Coach Collective podcast. Today, we are talking about overcoming the fear of sales. And here we have with us sales maestro, sales master Heather Lapidus, one of the best. Nurse coach Heather, you are an absolute beast, an absolute master. As long as I've known you, I have envied your capacity to sell from the most heart-centered place. Like, you make it feel so easy. It's so intuitive. I've listened to so many of your calls, just attempting to reverse engineer what you do, honestly, at such a beast of a high level. It's amazing. Like, anytime I watch somebody on YouTube or like all these sales pros and sales experts, I'm like, you haven't seen my girl in action. She's incredible. So thank you for offering your expertise and your knowledge and experience to everyone who's listening here, because for so many of us, actually, it's not the fear of, is somebody going to want this to work? It's not the fear of marketing and connection. It's the fear of sales and asking for money that really, really gets in the way. Holy smokes. So thanks for joining in with us on this call.
Thanks. I'll take an introduction like that any day.
I got you.
Yeah, I think for so many people, the whole idea of sales feels not just scary and intimidating, but we have this idea that it's like icky and uncomfortable.
Especially true of nurses, yeah.
Especially true of nurses, because most nurses are used to working inside of a setting where, yes, of course, we're working for a paycheck and we love that paycheck very much, but we are not going into each patient room and serving that patient and helping them heal and then giving them the bill at the end. Like, we are not the person who is responsible for that transaction. We're not setting the price. We're not having those conversations about money. And most humans have quite a complex money story, right? Like, we've got some of our own BS that's holding us back about charging money and getting that wrapped up in our personal value or the value of our services. So this is indeed a very complex topic. And I think something that many nurses, many new nurse coaches really, really struggle with, getting out of this idea that sales is something to hold at a distance and instead learning to embrace. Sales is awesome. Sales is beautiful. Sales is fun. Sales is what is the sole survival mechanism of your ability to have a private practice and stay in business.
Why else is sales awesome and fun?
I think sales is incredibly fun because I view sales as an opportunity to connect with someone so deeply, to learn about them so deeply, listen to everything that I can possibly learn and soak up about them, and then really get clear on how I can support them, and then be able to make a proposal that I can offer to them as an opportunity to give them a gift of working with me so that I can help them reach those goals.
Y'all listen to that reframe. I want everybody to actually hear that, because it stands in polar opposition to how most people think about it. That's what it boils down to, which is listening to them so deeply, hearing their pain, hearing their dreams and desires, and then being able to offer them, like create an offer for them.
And I can walk you through that process more slowly and more in depth here in a minute if you want. What it all has to start with is, and this part is tough, it all has to start with a belief in yourself. And this comes up, episode after episode, is that the number one way that we stand in our own way is when our belief in other people or our belief in ourselves is just not existent, and then that holds us back from even trying. Here is the crux of why I love sales. Okay, I don't love sales for anything. If you give me a box of pens to sell, I'm not going to enjoy that process. But I love sales when it comes to nurse coaching because I believe in the power of nurse coaching so deeply. Its power to transform lives, its power to help other people to cultivate and create the health and wellness that they have for days, months, years, decades been longing to create. I have seen the process of nurse coaching be successful so many times that I have that core belief. Now, when I was first starting out as a nurse coach, I didn't necessarily have the confidence that I was an amazing nurse coach and I could help everybody do that. But I trusted the process so much that I really did begin to believe quickly that I had the power to serve and support people in a very deep way. And here's where it gets good. If I am over here sitting here talking to you, you are my potential client. We're having a conversation and I'm getting to know you and we're building a relationship. I'm learning everything I can about you. And I'm over here sitting in my mind thinking, okay, this is somebody who wants to improve their lifestyle through their diet. I know all about how to support people with that. This is somebody who wants to focus on moving more and loving the way that they exercise and really getting a stronger body. Okay, I know exactly how to help people with that. And this is somebody who is really wanting to build stronger and healthier relationships because they believe that that's going to impact every aspect of their life. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, I learned all about that in my nurse coach training. I'm totally equipped and excited to serve and support this person on their journey. But oh my gosh, the thing that's going to stand in the way of me being able to support this person or even have that be a possibility is me asking them for money, is me telling you, well, I would love to support you with XYZ, but oh my gosh, it's going to cost this much money to work with me. And you probably don't want to do that, do you? So if I live inside of that fear and I hold myself back from making that offer to you, or I do make that offer, but I make it in a really fearful and powerless way, then I'm actually doing you like the greatest disservice that I could possibly do to you because I'm robbing you of the opportunity to have this beautiful nurse coaching experience with me. That was a super powerful reframe for me to understand that I believe in the power of nurse coaching. I believe in myself as a nurse coach, and I believe in the process so much that to not offer it to you, to not offer you the opportunity to invest in yourself and invest in a coaching experience with me would be to do you an incredible disservice. And when I could see it like that, then sales becomes a gift that I get to give myself, a gift that I get to offer to you. You can choose to accept it or not. That's totally on your terms. But you do get that opportunity to say yes and to choose to work with me as a nurse coach.
Love it. I love it so much. And to put this in perspective, again, Heather, you have had hundreds of one-to-one conversations for when we were starting our private practice. You had hundreds of one-to-one enrollment conversations. You have personally taken thousands of enrollment conversations to bring nurses into our training program. And you also coached dozens of people who worked for us in this process of onboarding and enrollment. So you have worked at all the different tiers of what it means to really understand deeply the art of sales, the art of enrollment, the art of listening to somebody and then being able to create an offer for them that's all coming from this loving place of service and confidence in everything that you offer. So what are the mistakes that you see new nurse coaches make again and again when they're starting to have sales conversations for the first time? And I guess a different way to say that is, what are the top 3 mistakes that you see people have when they're starting to have enrollment conversations with potential clients?
Oh, well, I mean, the number one mistake I was going to put out there is they're literally not having enrollment conversations because they're letting their own stories and BS and fears get in their way. And so they're not willing to have those conversations.
Again, coming back to belief, right?
Yes.
You're not having the belief so much so that it results in just complete inaction.
Yes. And so here's where we can go back to what I shared previously. It's like, if you're brand new, if you don't yet have that belief and confidence in yourself, that's okay. That's going to be created. So instead, borrow your belief in the nurse coaching process, right? You became a nurse coach for a reason. You believe that this process works. So borrow your belief in the nurse coaching process and lean on your belief in your client. Your client has the ability to improve, to grow, to transform their well-being. And when you can believe in those things, then your belief in yourself as a nurse coach becomes less and less important in those beginning phases as you're cultivating and building your own confidence. Okay, so number 1 is belief so that you can actually have these enrollment conversations. Now, your question was, once you're having the enrollment conversation, what are the biggest mistakes people make? Is that
Yes.
right? So I want to actually answer that by going back to unwind what I believe is like the keys to success, the process of having a successful enrollment call, which is the art of sales. The very most important thing that you can do when you sit down with a potential client and you're having an enrollment conversation or an initial coaching conversation, the very most important thing that you can do is listen. You're there to ask questions. You're there to learn about that person. You're there to challenge them, explain what nurse coaching is, all of those things. But the most important thing that you can do is listen to them so deeply that it's like they've never been heard or listened to in that way before. Because only when you're willing and able to do that can you truly get that deep, deep understanding of what it is that that person wants to change, the pain points that they're experiencing, everything in their life and well-being that is causing them suffering and would make them want to invest in something like coaching, because it's everything that is they want to move away from. Okay. So it's really deeply listening to their pain. The next piece is starting to understand, well, okay, now I'm really clear on everything that you don't want, everything that's not working for you. Helping them to create a vision of what they do want. What's their dream? What are their goals? What are their hopes? And I'm not just talking about, a simple intake form of, okay, what are your coaching goals?
Please don't do that.
Right. And I mean, these things are important. You want to know, hey, if you could get anything out of coaching with me 6 months from now, what would be the most amazing transformation you could experience? What are your top 3 goals? What's the number 1 thing you want to work on? Those are great questions. But it's in how you ask and how you listen and how you're curious that you're really able to help somebody build out not just the understanding of the pain points, but the understanding of what it is they're really dreaming of and desiring to create, and why all of that is so important to them. And I tell this to anyone who I have ever coached around the art and science of sales. If you do not understand a person's pain, and if you do not understand a person's dream and vision for the future, then you are not ready to make a proposal to them, to make an offer to coach them. You are not ready to tell them how much it costs to work with you and what you think you can help them with, because you haven't gotten everything that you need. So I suppose the number 1 mistake is trying to move too quickly through this get to know you phase and then saying, great, let's work together. This is how much I charge for my coaching package. And do you want to work with me? Maybe you'll get lucky and they'll say yes. But my guess is that you haven't built enough of a relationship and a connection, and you haven't built out enough value. So on the flip side of that, it's really understanding thoroughly the pain points and everything in their life that they want to move away from, and also the dream and the vision of everything in their life and health that they want to move towards. Now you have the complete picture, right? Now you have the complete understanding. And then you get to take your beautiful nurse coaching process that you know all too well, and you get to really help them make it tangible. What are the ways that I, as a nurse coach, can support you? And to be able to say, here's what I'm hearing. So the reflection piece, this is huge.
Which is part of deep, active listening.
Yes.
Reflection is inherent in that process.
Right. To be able to reflect back, here's what I heard on the pain side. Here's what I heard on your dreams and desires. Okay, here is what I believe that I can help you with over the course of the next 6 months if you and I decide to work together. Let's build out this vision for these ways in which I believe I can truly help you. And be genuine here, be authentic. You're not trying to sell someone on something that isn't real. You're trying to paint an actual picture for them of what it would be like to work with you as a nurse coach. A beautiful, wonderful, amazing vision of all the transformation that's possible, and put that out there in terms that they can understand, because probably they don't really know what it would look like to work with a nurse coach. They don't know what can change in that time. So your role is to listen, to reflect, to paint a picture of what could be possible when you work together. And then what leads to actual sales is being willing to make that invitation, that proposal, that offer, whatever you want to call it. And that means being willing to put a price tag on what it is that you offer and say, it costs X amount of dollars to work with me for 3 months. We would meet every single week, and I would be absolutely honored to get to support you on this journey. Let the inner panic ensue because you've just said the numbers, but really, third mistake. How many mistakes can I list here?
1, 2, 3.
The third mistake is, once you make that proposal and you make that offer, immediately entering into panic and continuing to talk and be like, it's just $3,000 to work with me for 3 months. And so what do you think about that? Or if that's too expensive, we can come up with another plan. And you immediately kind of talk yourself down from this wonderful place of power and this hope and this excitement and inspiration that you gave this potential client. And now you're talking yourself in circles and the power is going. Wah, 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 wah. So putting it out there, being willing to pause and then make space to, again, listen to what is coming up for your client.
Recap me with those top 3 mistakes. The very first is not having the belief, period, to be able to have any conversations whatsoever. So no belief leads to inaction. The second is not listening, right? Would you say that's the second one?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately what that boils down to is not really being a nurse coach with that individual. So not listening on that deep level, not
It's kind of running through like an intake form.
reflecting back. Right. Yes. And the listening there is the encompassing the all sides of the pain points and the dream, right? Is that full picture there.
And then hit me with that third mistake.
The third mistake is not being willing to end with making a proposal, with putting numbers out there, with saying this is how much it costs to work with me. And then I threw in a fourth bonus mistake, which is taking away your power just as soon as you put out this really powerful proposal.
I have had to reverse engineer everything that you just said and put it into processes because for me, I didn't get any of this out the gates. I stated this in previous episode, but I spent $50,000 to make my first $1,000 in sales. It was so hard for me because I couldn't figure it out. And it was once I started listening to you and having conversations with you where I realized actually, I already know how to do all of this because I've just spent the last 2 years of my life learning how to be a nurse coach. And everything inside of the world of nurse coaching is listening so deeply to somebody that it changes their whole world. And so the only thing that I had to do differently in these conversations is, so if you're listening, you're wondering okay, how can I make this work for me? Well, first step is to connect with people, right? So you get over the fear of marketing, you connect with people, and then you invite them into that one-to-one conversation with you, which we can define as an enrollment session, right? It's our first introductory session together. And when they meet with me, what am I doing? I'm sitting down with them. I'm giving a brief introduction. Hey, I'm super excited to connect with you. Thank you for taking the time to be here with me. Just a little bit about me. I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse coach for many years, and I just help people on their health and their wellness on everything related to the food they eat, how they move their bodies. But mostly I'm excited to connect with you today because of what I heard you say at the grocery store, right? And so if it's okay with you, tell me about what made you say yes to have this conversation here today. And you use just that simple question. Now you listen so deeply and you just simply coach that person, right? As you were saying, Heather, you just listen to them on a level like they've never been listened to before. You learn about their pain. You learn about why are they taking hours out of their life to go sit with this random person in this room to hear, to learn. So listen to them. Listen to them so deeply and then hear their pain, hear their dreams, hear their aspirations, reflect it back to them in a powerful way. And so essentially all that you're doing up to that point is having a super powerful nurse coaching session with somebody. That is literally the entire process of sales until you get to that moment of proposal, of making that offer. And so this is why we keep reiterating, do not worry about business until you have an incredible service to offer, until you understand the art and science of nurse coaching, how to listen so deeply that it changes somebody's life, how to help somebody build this vision of the future and to help them define it so deeply that they can see it, they can feel it, they can taste it. You work with somebody, and then as you get towards the end of that enrollment session, the thing that we found really effective is to say to them, okay, here's the top 4 things that we're going to work on together, right? And so you begin to make that transition. You say, would it be okay if, I'm hearing so many things that I could help you with, Heather. Would it be okay if I take a moment to just reiterate what I would help you with and then what that process could look like in working together? And so then you talk to them, okay, first thing that we're going to do is we're going to overcome the fears that are going to hold you back. And we're going to help you upgrade your beliefs. All these internal narratives that are getting in the way of these dreams and these big visions, we're going to get out of the way. We're going to build a vision of what it is that you want in your health and happiness that's so powerful that you just move towards that no matter what. And I'm going to help you take the tiny actions every single day to make that vision a reality faster than you could ever imagine possible. How does that sound to you? And then you make that invitation, just like you said. It costs X amount of dollars to work with me for X many months. We're going to meet once a week. This is what it's going to look like. And then listen, allow that powerful invitation, that powerful offer to hold space. What did I miss?
That was actually beautiful. And I am so grateful that that was recorded, because I think every single student, every single graduate who is out there is
students of the master
is going to record that and literally listen to that again and again and again. Because when it comes to making that proposal at the end and saying, this is what I can help you with, and this is how I can help you with, your language there was so awesome. And that can be literally catered and customized to any individual based on what you've just learned about them from all of that listening and all of that reflecting. So,
and as a reminder, that exact holistic enrollment script is inside of the free business accelerator, which is included inside of your nurse coach training, which we're now offering for over 50% off discounted tuition.
Okay. And you just you just pulled that all off without a script, without looking at anything.
Almost like we've done this thousands of times, y'all. And so this is the thing, respect where you're at on the journey and be willing to do 3 things. Number 1, borrow my belief that there are people that are willing to have these conversations with you and people that are willing to sit down and pay you money for this. Second, take action. Do it again and again. Do not come to me either I have never made a proposal, or I've only done this once or twice and nobody signed up yet.
Yeah, he's having his great connections, but I'm afraid at the end, I never get to ask for money or really tell him how much it costs, because I panic at the end.
You're guaranteed to never be successful if you do that, friends. So you have to listen deeply and you have to actually make an offer at the end of those introductory conversations. And third thing is to learn from that failure. Learn from the challenges, learn from the roadblocks, and then keep applying it again and again until you get good at this. And the cool thing that I want you all to know as you're listening to this is that I totally sucked at sales. The worst, absolutely the worst. I'm still not the best. Heather, you always beat me by so many percentage points.
We're not competitive at all here. We don't compare to each other ever.
It's not a competition, actually. It's more of just an insight of, like, some people are naturally gifted at this, which is why you totally crush it inside this role, which is why you were always the one to coach our onboarding specialists at the Nurse Coach Collective rather than me. But I was still able to get to one of the highest levels, well, far and above industry standard inside of being able to enroll people, which I'm so proud of, because what it means is that any nurse coach can learn this and you can master this.
I think one more tip that is very important, because asking for money, because stating a price can be so nerve-wracking for so many. I mean, I literally remember the feeling of the hands shaking. The other thing that works really well is to actually, for that piece of, I charge X amount of dollars to work together for X amount of months, actually write that part down, script it for yourself, so that when you get to that part of making that offer, you don't panic, you don't second guess yourself, you just force yourself to read it. And I had to do that probably 20 times before I could do it without reading it. And if I can share one quick story, and this experience absolutely changed my life and relationship with sales, so I hope that anybody and everyone can borrow this. I got very lucky because it was one of my very first enrollment calls, one of my very first actual real life coaching sessions with somebody who I met following up a workshop that you and I had gone to. And we had this amazing session. I learned so much about her. I was stoked because there were so many ways that I could help her. But all throughout the call, one of her biggest pain points was that she didn't have enough money. She was struggling financially. She was having a really hard time. Her car needed to be fixed. Her refrigerator was broken, right? So in my head, I'm trying to be present. I'm trying to figure out, I'm going to serve this person. I'm going to support her. She could be an amazing client. But I've got this fear in this voice being like, this price that you have written down, it's never going to work. She can't afford this. Money is her whole issue. So first, if you have that thought, stop in your tracks, hold yourself back from ever making any assumption about what anyone can and can't afford, because it all comes down to priorities. And even the person who cannot afford to fix the refrigerator may be able to afford to prioritize their health and well-being. And I'll tell you why in just a moment. So even though I had all of those fears, I got to the end of the call, but I had said, This is my homework. This is my assignment. This is my action. I am having this call and I am making this proposal and I am sticking to what I have written down. So I have my heart literally climbing out of my throat. I am sweating down my arms. My hands are shaking. And I say, okay, here's XYZ that I think I can help you with. I would love to work with you for 6 months. It'll be, actually, it was 3 months at that time. It would be $3,000 to work with me for 3 months. And we would meet every week, starting whenever you're ready. Pause for panic. Long pause. She left me waiting there, sweating. And then she said, okay, that seems really affordable. And I had to literally hold myself back from being like, really? What? And she went
Christy
on
just spent the whole session talking
about money and finances.
Right.
Exactly. And then she literally followed that up by saying, I mean, yeah, I already feel like this session has been so helpful for me that if the next 3 months are anything like this, it's well worth it. So how do we move forward? And that single person to give me that feedback was a huge, huge confidence build. Not everybody gets that lucky and gets that confidence, which is why I tell you the story so that you can learn from me. But what I want to remind you of, and this piece I said I was going to come back to, there is nothing more important in this world than your health and your well-being. Like, you can have the most beautiful family, you can have insane amounts of money, all the time in the world. If you don't have your health, if you don't have wellness, if you don't have a feeling of being strong and healthy in your body, nothing else matters. You can't enjoy any of those things. So people's well-being is truly their most important asset that they are willing to invest in. They just need you to give them an opportunity and a reason to invest in themselves.
That was a great conversation. You're so smart. I'm so good at sales. I'm so good at the art of enrollment, and just being able to see this in a way that really has supported me, and I think hopefully thousands of other nurse coaches to be able to see in just a brand new light. So awesome, y'all. I hope that helped you overcome your personal fear of sales and just any nonsense that's getting in the way of you bringing the fullness of your gifts to the world. Thanks for watching, y'all, and we'll see you in the next episode.